Hello students, so now we are going to start with our chapter number 8, that is Heredity, and now we are going to study the introduction of this chapter and accumulation of variation during reproduction. So first we are going to start with the introduction of this chapter. So we have seen that reproductive processes give rise to new individuals that are similar but slightly different. So this reproduction process, this is the process which gives us a new individual which are similar but slightly different with each other. We have discussed how some amount of variation is produced even during asexual reproduction, and the number of successful variations are maximized by the process of sexual reproduction. The meaning of this is reproduction. It is of two types, which we have already studied in an earlier chapter, that is how do organisms reproduce. So what are the two types? The one is asexual reproduction and the second one is sexual reproduction. Actually, variations takes place in both the types. Maximum variations we can see in sexual reproduction and little bit of variation we can see in asexual reproduction. Now you can ask how we can see the variation in asexual reproduction. Actually, that is due to the change in the environmental conditions. It may be due to the presence of water or heat, etc. So here, but these variations will be very less compared to sexual reproduction. In sexual reproduction, variations will be maximized. Why? Because here male and female gamete will fuse to get a zygote which is going to develop, grow and to give into a new individual. And therefore in sexual reproduction we can see maximum variations. If we observe a field of sugarcane, we find very little variations among the individual plants. So sugarcane plant, if you focus, this sugarcane plant we can grow by using the stem of the sugarcane. It is nothing but it is showing vegetative propagation, that is asexual reproduction. So in case of sugarcane, what we are doing? We are taking the small portion of the sugarcane and that we are going to sow into the soil, put water, it will grow and give us a new sugarcane. So here there will be no reproduction process or fertilization process, and that's why the variations will be very less. But in a number of animals, including human beings, which reproduce sexually, quite distinct variations are visible among different individuals. So if we see in human beings, same how we are studied in sugarcane, if you see in human beings, including animals, including human beings, which will reproduce sexually, here male female gamete will fuse to give the new individual. In this chapter, we shall be studying the mechanism by which variations are created and inherited. So in this chapter, we are going to study how these variations are created, what is the process, what is the method these variations are created, and how these variations transfer from one generation to next generation. Means how these variations are inherited. So these all things we are going to study in this chapter. So let's start. So our first topic is, that is accumulation of variation during reproduction. So whenever this reproduction takes place, when the first generation gives second generation, then the second generation gives third generation, whatever variations takes place, these all variations will be accumulated. In first to second generation, whatever variations will be done, all will be accumulated and transferred to the third generation. Whatever variations will occur in third generation, all will be accumulated and transferred to the fourth generation. So how these accumulation takes place? So that we are going to study it here. Inheritance from the previous generation provide both a common basic body design and subtle changes in it. Means whatever inheritance takes place from the previous generation, whenever the characters from the previous generations are transferred to the present generation, it will have common basic design, means common character, all it will transfer, like skin color, length of the hair or length of the body, or the color of the hair, these all, or color of the eyes, these all will be transferred from one generation to next generation. Even the changes which takes place slowly, those all will be transferred. to the next generation. Now, think about what would happen when this new generation in turn reproduces. Now, imagine the earlier generation has transferred the characters to the present generation, and whatever present generation we have, imagine if this reproduces again, we will get a second generation. So, the second generation will have differences that they inherit from the first generation as well as newly created differences as shown in the diagram. Means once you get a second generation, this generation will have the variations which have been inherited from the first generation, and with that also there will be newly created differences. So this can be seen with the help of this diagram. Imagine, so this is first generation and this we have a second generation. So if you focus on this diagram, here you can see this red color. So what is this red color? It is the variation which has occurred in this second generation. Now when this second generation reproduces and we will get a third generation, this is called third generation. So if you focus third generation, already it has that red color which it has got or inherited from the first generation, and with that it also has this pink color. Means whatever variations occur, those all will be transferred from one generation to next generation, all will be accumulated, and with those accumulated variations it will also create a new variations in it. So this is shown by this diagram. I hope you are understanding. So this is our first generation. When this first generation is giving the second generation, here the variation took place, it got this red color. But when the second generation is giving this third generation, it already has that red color which has inherited, and with that it has got a pink color which is newly created. So variations will accumulate from generation to generation. We'll see the next. Do all these variation in species have equal chances of surviving in the environment in which they find themselves? Means whatever variations we can see now from first to second, second to third generation, these all variations have the equal chances of surviving in the environment? This is the question. Obviously not. Depending on the nature of variation, different individuals would have different kind of advantages. So whatever variations takes place in the generation, that whole thing is depend on nature of variations and even the environment. Depending on the environment and depending on the variation, type of variation which has took place, it will be decided that variation will survive or no. Bacteria that can withstand heat will survive better in a heat wave. So this is one of the example which is given. Imagine this is the pond, and in this pond we have some of the bacteria. So these all are bacteria. So when these bacteria reproduce, they create a new generation. And in this new generation, we get some bacteria with variations. So these are the earlier bacteria, and some bacteria will get with the variation. So this blue color are all bacteria with variation. So here this blue color bacteria, because of the variation, they will withstand with the strong heat. And this black color bacteria are same normal bacteria. Now imagine due to some environmental changes, here heat changes or the temperature changes, heat wave comes. Due to the high heat, now these all black bacteria will die, because in these black bacteria we cannot see any variation. They will not withstand with the high heat. But this blue color bacteria which you can see, which has the variation of surviving in the hot temperature, these all will survive. So depending on the environment it will be decided, depending on the variation it will be decided, the species will survive or no. Selection of variants by environmental factor forms the basis of evolutionary processes. So this environment will decide or select the variations, and depending on that, we can see the evolution process or the evolution. So this is nothing but accumulation of variation during reproduction. So like this, whatever variations takes place, those all will be accumulated from one generation to next generation. This process continues, and after some many years, we will get a evolution into the species and we will get a new species formation.